Because humans have soul, and AI will never have soul.
You can see you're outnumbered here.
Welcome back to the Rogue Academic Podcast. We're glad you're here. Today's guest is Sam Javitch, a jazz pianist from LA. Today, she shares with us her story about how she learned all about herself through the study of jazz. So, with no further ado, here's our little conversation. Enjoy. Yay! We're here. We finally got this together. I'm so excited.
I know, finally.
Yes. The reason this has taken a little while is because Sam is friggin' busy, y'all. Like, Sam has shit to do and is a hard person to nail down. But I'm so glad that you're here. Give us a little rundown
Thank,
of what you've been up to lately.
yeah, thank you for having me, Lexi. I'm so glad we finally made this work. You
Yeah.
you say I'm busy, but really I'm just fighting all the cold flu going around that everybody's getting, and yeah. What have I been? Well, I graduated from USC. You figured that out. I graduated last May,
Yeah, I figured it out
and
only too late because I thought you were still in coursework because I'm a dumbass.
no, 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 no. Everybody thought I was still doing school because it took so freaking long. Because it's supposed to be
Uh-huh.
4 years, and they push you and they say if you don't graduate, you're gonna this, that, and the other. And then I was like, hold up a second, I'm just gonna take longer. And then they had to figure out how to make that work. So much so that like days before I was graduating, they were like, "Did you do this requirement?" And I was like, "Fuck."
Are you serious? Oh, that's so lame.
You know how it
I
goes.
do, because there's always like
Yeah,
an
but I
extra hoop at the end.
Yeah, exactly. Well, there's a crazy story I'll tell you later when we get into it that
Hmm.
goes with that. But no, I graduated. I'm writing the music for my next album, which
Hell
is almost
yes! Let's
done.
go!
Yeah. Uh, Sneak peek here. It's going to be all about my experiences coming out as trans and
Nice.
being a trans jazz musician and just a trans musician. And so all the songs are related to that. So the album's going to be called, I'm really, really cheeky title, but I'm kind of proud of this. It's going to be called Living in the Queer and Now.
I love that so much. Oh my
Yeah, yeah,
God.
yeah.
I
I
will
was
be your
pretty,
first buyer of that album. I swear to
I
God.
love that. I'll send you a copy.
Oh my
So I'm
gosh. Yes,
writing the
ma'am.
music for that, and just trying to make it work. I'm trying to figure out what's next because now I live in LA,
Hmm.
and I've discovered just by chance of coming to USC, and I came out as trans during my time at USC.
Hmm.
I discovered that LA is like this queer mecca that I knew nothing about, and I'm just this like it's home, and it feels safe, and it feels so I'm happy here.
Oh, I'm so glad to hear that because more often than not, those of us on like in other parts of the country, we hear horror stories from our trans friends and our queer friends about how unsafe
Yeah.
they are feeling and how terrified they are to just leave their house. I'm so glad that you found a community where you feel like you can thrive.
Well, listen, I mean, there's always two sides to the coin. Sure, I feel safe, but it's sadly it's really there's no real certainty for trans people anywhere right now.
Hmm.
And I guess it's just kind of like we make it work where we are. But that being said, LA certainly has the biggest trans community and is the most accepting. So if I was going to be anywhere, I'm really glad I'm here.
Yeah, for sure. And I would imagine, like, as a trans jazz musician, that you just have like laundry lists of other musicians you can work with there too.
Well, listen, what I discovered, I mean, not specifically jazz, but I would say what I discovered after I came, I was kind of, I would say recently, the last year or so, is that there's all this queer music, what do you call it? Like community, there's just a nexus of queer music here, LGBTQ. There's like open mics for queer musicians. There's like communities that do. There's that I forget what the heck it's called. It's this really cool. I'll look it up for you because you would probably love hearing about this. But it's this queer music showcase that's been in LA for decades and decades, and
Oh
they've
my
been
gosh.
going for yeah, they've been going. I went and it was just like a performance space where all these people did drag or sang songs in drag or performed music. It was like Planet Plan. They had this whole like alien space vibe about it. I'll look it up. I'll
Yeah,
find it
yeah, we'll
for
put it
you.
in the show notes so that people can check it out too.
Yeah,
I mean, and that's really like
cool.
one of the nicest things about having your own podcast. So if you were going to launch one, because you were mentioning that earlier, it's just a great way to get information out to more people about whatever it is that you're
Right,
passionate about. You know.
right. Well, yeah. How you been, Lex? Are you hanging in?
I'm great. I'm great. Thanks for asking. I have been blessed to be as busy or busier than I've ever been now that I've launched this thing because who knew?
Yeah.
Apparently, I'm not the only person who's pissed off that academia is basically
No.
dead. It's a zombie. It's dead job walking at this point.
You
So,
know how they have angry video game nerd on YouTube? This is angry music academics
yeah.
on
Uh-huh.
podcasts.
Yeah, Angry Music Academics, the podcast.
I love that.
Dude, for real. I've got a like a former student who lovingly calls me his anti-establishment fairy godmother. And if
Oh,
that
that's so great.
dude, and if that ends up being my personality, I'm fine with it. So like circling back to like jazz as the idiom, right? When did you really decide that like this was where your voice was most authentic? Or have you decided that? Have you explored new things where you're like, you know what? I think I'm gonna branch out.
Well, so that's a bit of a story, and it very much later ties into my coming out as trans. So I think we can flow into that pretty easily. Jazz? So I'll start you from the beginning. When I was an infant, I was diagnosed with a rare seizure disorder. You may know this, you may not know
I
this.
think
I
I
don't know
remember
if
you
I've
telling
ever
me, yeah.
mentioned this. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I was diagnosed with West syndrome or infantile spasms, for which the prognosis is absolutely horrible. And the survival rate is not good.
Oh wow.
And by some miracle of modern medicine, whatever it was, I was the second person that the guy who treated me had ever seen recover the way I had. And
Wow.
obviously, there's no recovering fully from this. I've
Sure.
had lifelong effects. But one of the things that I did when I was recovering at like 3 years old was I walked to a piano and I had no musical training, nothing. And I sat down and basically started banging on the piano, but my banging on the piano turned out to be improvising short little melodies off the top of my head. And for a 3 year old, it wasn't like Mozart writing a symphony, but for a 3 year old, it was actually really impressive.
Nice.
And so there's a really funny story that I love to tell people. I had this stuffed parrot that sat on a log. It was this like electronic thing you could put a battery in, and
Uh-huh.
this parrot could record about 5 seconds of music, and it would like play it back, and it would go like, say I went ba ba da 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 da. This parrot would go squat ba ba da 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 squat and play it back to you.
Uh-huh.
So my favorite thing in the whole world was to record into this parrot and then hear it play back what I had just recorded. And little did I know that 3 year old Sam was ear training herself by the use of this toy.
Oh my
And I didn't
god.
realize I was learning to like hear melodies and go, that's what that sounds like. That's what this chord sounds like. That's what this.
Dude.
And years later, it clicked. I was like, holy shit, I was ear training myself. And it was like so intuitive to me, just that I loved hearing sounds back. And so going along, my mom said, well, Sam's playing piano. Let's try classical lessons. And because I had these seizures, I hated it. I couldn't read music yet. I didn't like playing it. All I wanted to do was make stuff up because
Mhm.
that's where I felt most free. And so fast forward to 12 years old, and I had been crying, and all I wanted to do was just make stuff up. And my mom said she always loved jazz. Bless my mom. It was her favorite, one of her favorite kinds of music. She was actually an amateur classical pianist and wanted to do music, but
Mhm.
that's a whole nother story, and ended up not doing it.
Mhm.
But she said, Sam, let's try jazz since you've always been improvising anyway. And I took one jazz lesson, and that was it. I mean, there was just no turning back. I took one
Wow.
lesson and I said, oh my God, this is where I've been looking to express myself because I felt that it was the music with the most freedom of expression. It was improvisation, it was making it up as you go.
Mhm.
And really, the bottom line is that I came to realize that it was a metaphor for my life, that I was kind of making up my healing and figuring myself up as I went. And so I'll wait till you get to this point, but what I'm eventually going to tell you is that it was really a metaphor for me figuring out I was trans.
That is wild, because you hear about a lot of people coming to jazz as an idiom by listening. Like they hear something that they really like, and then they want to do that, or they want to emulate that.
Right.
So that happened. I would imagine that would happen for you later. Then, like you knew that this was your idiom, and then you went exploring it probably later, and then you found other artists that maybe had a voice that you liked or could latch onto. Who were some of those
Yeah.
like original like old school pivotal points for you?
Well, so what happened then is that I took my first jazz lesson. My mom had been, I don't exactly remember the timeline, but this is all thanks to my mom, and I owe her so much. Um, Sometime around that period where I took my first lesson, maybe a little bit earlier, my mom thought that jazz was like a stimulating kind of music. She loved it. And I remember the exact record and track that she first put on. Um, it was the Monk record, the one where it's his face. I think it's called It's Monk's Time, and the track was Lulu's Back in Town.
Oh, nice.
And my mom put that track on, and she said that I started dancing. I was like 6, and I started dancing to it. And so she started getting the inkling to play more jazz for me. So then, come around 12 or 13, I took my first jazz lesson. A year later, I'm Jewish. So a year later, I had my bar mitzvah. And there is a pivotal moment where my dad's a scientist, and he asked one of his friends who had, I think, a cousin or something who's a jazz musician or aficionado. And for my bar mitzvah, he gave me a stack of 13 CDs that changed my life. He just said, "What does a young jazz pianist want to listen to his friend?" And he gave me a stack of 13 CDs that changed some of them I didn't listen to that much, but I can tell you that the one that absolutely changed my life as a jazz pianist, obviously, it was the Oscar Peterson Trio live at the Blue Note, the
Duh.
box set
Mm-hmm.
of all, of course, of so Oscar Peterson recorded in 1990, recorded a reunion with his famous trio, Herb Ellis, Ray Brown, Bobby Durham on drums, and they did a reunion at the Blue Note, and this was the box set of all 3 sets that they did. And there's one track in particular on there called Bach's Blues that
Mm-hmm.
my mom and I would just play in the car all the time. And that was it. When I heard that, I said, "Oh, swing, jazz, this feels so good. How do I do that?" And then I started at, I went to the Manhattan School of Music pre college, and I walked in one day because I had seen this CD. I didn't know who the guy was, but the second thing that blew my mind, I found a CD by someone you may have heard of named McCoy
Oh
Tyner.
yeah, just that
And,
guy. No big deal.
just that
Just
guy.
that guy.
And
He's seen him around.
just that, it was his most recent record called Quartet, had Joe Lovano on drums and all these guys. And I had heard him play a chord. I think it was just McCoy Tyner playing a sus chord. And I was just like, the way he makes a piano sound, I want to make a piano sound. And those were the two really pivotal moments right at the beginning. And then everyone else came later. And now I don't pick favorites. I just, all the musicians, I love them. I learned something from everyone.
Yeah. I'm
Now,
going to
as
bug you for
for,
that list of 13 CDs, by the way. Like, the
oh,
listeners
yeah,
are going to hear that and they're going to be like, I want to
I
know
have
what this is. Like,
I
I
have
want to
to
know what
look
this
up
list is.
what I have to look up what they were. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, no
I
sweat.
think there was an Art Tatum CD. There was like a Best of Fats Waller. There was
Yeah.
stuff like that.
Yeah. So in amongst all of that, then like you said that this is like really integral to your transition. Like, can you walk us through, when you realize that like, oh my gosh, that was my brain just sorting this out through music.
Yeah.
Like that is so interesting.
Well, to be perfectly honest, that happened really recently. I had so I'll take you through the whole story. So buckle in. This is where it gets wild.
Let's go. That's why we're here.
So I went through high school, I went through undergrad, I went through grad school, and
Presenting
I
male, right?
presenting male, cis male, attracted to women, knew nothing. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I don't even think I knew the word trans, but
Mm-hmm.
somewhere along the way, I think it was when I was like 18, so just entering high school, I saw a picture on Facebook or somewhere, early social media, of someone I didn't even know, just like an acquaintance of a friend of a friend of a friend
Hmm.
who had transitioned and was fully presenting as trans or looked androgynous or whatever. And in my head, I just went, huh, okay, I don't know what that means. But it stayed in my head. And all I knew is that I wanted to keep going back and looking at that picture,
Hmm.
whether I was attracted to them or I wanted to be them. And of course, then we have the classic trans meme and trope. I don't know if I want to be with them or I want to be them. That
Right.
happened to me over and over and over and over again
Hmm.
in media that I consumed, video games that I played, in shows that I watched, the whole thing. And so I hit, I'd say grad school, and I had a friend named Allie, one of my dear friends. And one day out of the blue, I just said, "Hey, Allie, sometimes I feel like I like wearing women's clothes. I don't know why. I didn't even have an answer for it yet."
Hmm.
And she said, "Well, that's a thing people do. Sure, why not?"
Hmm.
And so I never forget, I was living in my apartment after grad school, didn't have the words for anything, was desperate to figure out what this, why do I feel this way? What
And
is
this was in
going
New
on?
York.
This was in New York.
Okay. Okay.
And I would send her these pictures where I'd be like, "Hey, I took, you know, a shirt and made it into a skirt." And she'd go, "You have nice legs." And I sent her a picture where I'd go, "I did this and rolled up the shorts. So they're booty shorts." And she's like, "Hey, you have a nice butt." And I was like,
Early
"Okay, thanks."
fashionista,
Yeah.
transanista.
Well, and she was like, "You're being really creative. Like you used a shirt for a skirt or you used it." And I'm like, "I don't know, man. I just have this feeling." And so life went on. And then unfortunately, the pandemic hit. So I
Mhm.
was stuck at home and I reached out to a dear friend who you probably know, Chloe Rowlands,
Oh
trumpet player.
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
Chloe, who is now living her absolute best life in
Who
the
was just
Westerlies,
nominated
and
for a Grammy, if I'm not
I am,
mistaken.
yes, she was. It's her first Grammy, and
I
it's
love that. That is such
only
a
the
huge win
beginning
on
for
so
her.
many levels, truly.
She is a badass. She is a queen, a heroine of mine,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
so she saved my life, as did several people in my life. But Chloe, I had seen her coming out pictures on Facebook. She had posted and she said, "Hey, I've come out as trans." And I looked at her and I said, "Oh my God, she looks stunning." And
Truly.
I went, "Holy shit, this is it. That's what I want to learn more about. What
Mhm.
is a trans woman?" And I messaged Chloe on Instagram. I'll never forget. I was sitting at home in my room in New York, and I messaged Chloe and I said, "Hey, I don't know you personally. We have tons of mutual friends. I just saw you put up this thing about coming out as trans. I've had these feelings. I don't know what the fuck I am. I'm really struggling to get some kind of feeling out in words. Help." And
Mm.
Chloe, bless her soul, I would not be here without her, said, "Tomorrow in the city, this coffee shop in Brooklyn, meet me for breakfast." I
Oh.
met Chloe for breakfast, and she spent 3 hours just telling me, "Tell me your story, tell me how you feel, follow all these Instagram accounts, go process everything I just told you, take your time, and come back to me when you're ready." And I did.
Oh my gosh, I love that for both of you. Like,
Yeah,
how incredibly fortunate that you happen to be in the same town as this person, but that they were so
I know.
receptive also to your journey, Like, that's
I
incredible.
know. I know.
You're
And
the luckiest
so
girl on the planet.
I've been in the right place and the right time about 50 times in my life. I could count on many fingers. So Chloe gave me all this stuff. I was like crying at the table while drinking a hot
Of
chocolate. Like,
course. I'm
I was
practically
like,
almost
"Oh
crying
my,"
listening to it.
I was like, "These are the words I've been looking for. What is this? What is it thing?" It was like literally like my heart became unstuck.
Aw, that's
And so I
amazing.
went home and I had a year and a half at home. And now we get to the sad part. I did not know at the time. I knew that my mom was diagnosed with cancer
Oh,
and I knew that she was not doing so hot.
uh-huh.
And I applied to USC for my doctorate. I applied to other places. We traveled around. Right when we got back from that is when the pandemic hit. I came home, like I said, and the week I moved to USC because I accepted there to California, to LA, where I live now,
Hmm.
was my mom's last trip. And she helped me to move into my apartment where I'm not living anymore, my USC apartment.
Oh my
And
gosh.
about 2 weeks later, I started school. And the week I started school, I lost my mom to breast cancer.
Holy shit. Like you have been
Like,
through it. Good Lord.
so my first semester at USC, I had just lost my mom.
Oh my God. And grad school is hard enough. Like anybody out there listening is probably someone who's already been to grad school. Otherwise, why are you following
Yeah.
the Rogue Academic? And if you haven't been to grad school, we have mixed reviews. But it's hard enough. It's hard enough to do
It's
it under what could be considered normal circumstances, let
normal.
alone
Yeah.
having just had like a major gender crisis and like realizing that you're transitioning and all of that, and then losing a parent. Like I can't imagine, and I've been through some shit, man. Like seriously.
Oh, Lexi. Oh, I mean, I'm here to be frank and I'm here to be raw and tell my story because I really hope in my heart of hearts that someone listening to this will be even just a little bit comforted and encouraged to, make it through to the other side. I started school and I was fairly suicidal my first year and I almost just quit right then and there. I broke down several times
Oh my God.
and let alone I had had this gender realization and then repressed it for another 2 years because obviously my mom was on my mind and I lost her and I never really got to come out to her. The only thing I ever got to tell her, we had watched the movie that I think everybody should watch. Do you know the movie Pride?
No, I don't.
It's the movie about gays and lesbians support the minors in the 80s during the AIDS epidemic. It's a really heartbreaking, but also incredibly joyful and moving movie, and I think everyone should watch it. And I just watched it during the pandemic with my mom, my dad, and my cousin,
Mm.
one of my closest cousins, my dad's sister's daughter.
Hmm.
And she had recently started dating a woman that she's still dating.
Oh,
And I
that's
said,
nice.
well, look, if she came out as a lesbian and my family was accepting, maybe they'll be accepting of me.
Hmm.
And so the only conversation I ever had with my mom, we were walking my dog during the pandemic, and I said, Mom, I've been talking with my therapist, and I think sometimes I want to wear women's clothes. And she went, well, you do what you need to do. I would give you some of mine, but I don't think they would
Oh, bless
fit.
her.
And bless her. You know what?
Oh.
I wish I had really been able to come out to her, but in a metaphorical way, that was her validating me. She
Yeah.
said, I accept that, even if I may not understand it, and I would help you. And I knew she would have gotten it. She wouldn't have, necessarily understood all the fine points, but
Yeah.
we really don't always need everybody in our life to understand all of it. We
Exactly.
just
Sometimes you don't
need
have to
accept
spell it out, and that's okay.
we just need acceptance and love. And so, I do my heart does have a hole in it that will never be filled by never getting to come out to her. But at the same time, and so we had watched this movie, and yeah, my first year was incredibly hard. I mean, I had done grad school, I had done masters, and that was already challenging. That was another period in my life.
Yeah, and that was
But doing this,
challenging likely because grad school is challenging, but also like at that time you were fighting this presentation of being a cishet male.
oh yeah,
Like
I,
that is its own
I,
challenge.
I was living under a repressed, you know, kind of fuck you to all the Republicans out there. As much as they call me
We're here
being
for it, man.
trans,
We are here
as
for it. They
much
don't
as
support the
as
show
much
and we don't support them. Fuck them.
as much as the Republicans want to call me having being trans having a mental illness, I was living under a delusion of being a cis white male and trying to wonder why I'm not fitting and why it's not working for me.
Hmm.
And you know, doing grad school at that time was fucking terrible. I felt awkward in every social interaction. But then trying to do a doctorate while you just lost your mom and you're trying to come out.
Mm-hmm.
was another thing entirely.
Right.
So, to get you to the end of this part of it,
No, no.
I went about 2 years in grad school, in my doctorate. And right at the beginning of my doctorate, I made a friend. She's now one of my closest friends in the whole world. And funny enough, she just recently asked me to be her maid of honor in her wedding.
Yay! Oh my
I know.
gosh, I love that for you
Yeah.
guys.
So we'll have to do a follow up, and I'll give you all the dress details and all the what I'm gonna
Girl, you
wear.
you have to do a get ready with me for that, and I will gladly
Yeah,
repost it for you because the world should see
yeah,
that. That's adorable. I fucking love
yeah,
that.
yeah. So we don't know when the wedding is yet because they're not engaged yet. But she knows they're like it's inevitable, and they
Aw.
want me to play at the wedding and be her maid of honor, and it's so cute. They're gonna have like multiple maids of honor, and it's a whole like break the norms of everything,
Love
wedding
it.
anarchy. So
Love
yeah,
it.
so yeah, so my friend, so I made this friend just randomly on the welcome Zoom for my dorm, and she was the only one that looked like she would ever talk to me again. And I was like, I got to get to know this person. And turns out that that was my one of my best friends in the whole world. She's like family to me. She
Hmm.
then came out as non-binary, now they them pronouns.
Love it.
And I one day went to them and I said, Olivia, I think I'm trans. I don't know what that means, but I think I want to wear women's clothes. And without batting an eye, they said, we're going to Out of the Closet, which is a LGBTQ thrift store in LA, because once again, LA, rock star comes to the
Mm-hmm.
rescue. And I took it home. I got a wig and I wore it and I didn't wear it and I didn't wear it. And then one day I said, fuck it. I can't take this anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And I went to my dad. I said, Dad, I think I'm gender fluid. And he said, what does that mean? And he looked me in the eyes after I told him. And he said, well, the razor we got, the trimmer we got you, I guess we should get a razor. I'll handle telling the family. You work on yourself. I love you. I just want you to be happy. Gave me a hug. I cried in his arms.
Of
And
course.
a year later, I said, wait a minute. I don't think I'm gender fluid. I think what I really meant was that I just love switching back between masc and femme trans lesbian. And about 3 years ago, I came out as trans, and it's been gangbusters ever since.
Damn
Here I
straight.
am.
More people should have such a happy welcome to the trans community. Truly.
Well, at first it was happy with my family, but then, we got into what's shit that's going on today in the world. And
Right.
as much as my family loves and supports me, the world does not.
Yeah. And so what was all of that like, especially in the context of grad school? Like, do you feel so I mean, for those listening that aren't necessarily familiar with music and academia, let alone jazz and academia, jazz is primarily and has been in academia at least a very male slanted sort of art form. It's very
Mm-hmm.
pro male. And
Mm-hmm.
like women in the world are all going, yes, we're not shocked about that at all. But any woman of any variety has had to fight tooth and nail for inclusion in jazz and jazz education, let
I would
alone a
completely
trans
agree.
woman. I can't even wrap my head around how hard that must have been. So, like, what was that
Yeah.
like, or what were your experiences there in academia?
Well, I have to say there are several people I have to give credit to here. Going back a little ways, I was very, 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 very lucky, and this gets pretty jazz specific, but you can hear these names to all your listeners can hear these names, and I really hope you'll take this and go listen to their music and
Hmm.
learn a bit about who they are because my mentors, I really feel like I carry their legacy in my heart. So when I was in undergrad, I was incredibly lucky to go to William Patterson, and two of the people that I was beyond blessed to study with were the legendary pianists Mulgrew Miller and Harold Mayburn.
Holy
And
crap.
in Mulgrew specifically was a big champion of mine that I didn't really know until after he passed. We lost him my second year after my sophomore year. And he was the kind of person who really didn't, it's so trite to say see color, see race, see gender, because of course we're trying to break down the patriarchy. But when I say he really didn't, I mean it in a way that all he cared about was making the best music and helping you to make the best music.
Mm.
And as a teacher, I'm now realizing that the way he taught, that he welcomed people in, that he made it about finding what got you excited because you're here already, right? If you're in school, unless it's like you're going to have a life change and figure out you want to do something else, and that's totally valid too. Like,
Mm-hmm.
slay, bestie,
Mm-hmm.
go do what you want to do. But if you're in music school, and especially if you're in jazz school, it's one, a commitment financially and music wise, and two, takes a very specific kind of person. Like jazz school is not for everybody. I'm just gonna, I shouldn't poo poo on the places I went, but there are people who might do just fine having a mentor and working to get gigs and doing some other job in the meantime. But Mulgrew really taught me that just to meet people where they are and to get them excited, and most of all, to make them feel like they are an equal. And
Mm-hmm.
no one at any level of music is any less an equal in terms of the heart and soul that they have if they're really into it.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that someone else might be further along on their path and have gained more experiences. But I truly believe that what he gave me as a 18-year-old green jazz pianist was to make me feel like I wasn't any less than him. And he was a giant in my mind even then.
He's
But
a giant in many people's minds currently.
currently, but now I just realize what a gift that was, and one of those many right places, right times. So was Harold Mayburn. He was very similar, but Mulgrew, who did, was the head of the jazz program. And now I kind of feel like that's my philosophy of music and teaching. And so the other name I'll name is fast forward a few years later, I was at Manhattan School of Music and I studied with a guy by the name of Gary Dial, who's a very famous New York jazz pianist.
Mm-hmm.
And he was mentored as a kid, if you can believe it. He studied with Mary Lou Williams.
Are you
And
serious?
yeah, his first, if you can believe it, his first piano lessons were with Mary Lou Williams by
Whoa.
chance. And so Mary Lou had this, he told me, I asked him, he was like, Mary Lou didn't really want to have a women in jazz festival. She wasn't, because she didn't see it that way. She just
Right.
wanted it to be about the music. And like, of course, women in jazz matter. That's not what I'm saying, or she was
Oh no,
saying,
but that
but
is
she was saying,
such a very familiar position on it. I mean,
yes,
I remember going to
yeah,
an International Trumpet Guild conference where they did like a women in trumpet summit, and Liesl, like the room was silent. No one wanted to say anything, and Liesl Whitaker was the first one who spoke up and was like, "Why the fuck are we here?" I mean, she didn't say
right,
that because she's always very like put together and appropriate. But I mean,
yes,
the tenet of what she was saying was just like, why do we even have to have this conversation? Like, why can't we just
right,
include people and be
right,
fine with it?
right. Like, in my mind, there should be a day where me being trans isn't anything special. We are not there. I mean, obviously, I celebrate myself, but it also, it's like not all of me, to be frank. But at the same time, I had, mentors who really not just gave me the authentic experience, but gave me experience of treating me as someone who matters, no matter who I am. That's
Mm-hmm.
what I try and, that's what I want to do for people. So then, to answer your question, fast forward to the end of my doctorate,
Mm-hmm.
only about a year and a half ago, and I had a mentor by the name of Nate Sloan. He's a very famous musicologist, and
Mm-hmm.
he, does all sorts of things. He has his own podcast, which all you
Oh,
listeners go check out. Switched on Pop. It's an incredible podcast that
I'm
Nate
writing it down and I
co
will link it.
co-runs. Yeah, and he it was a Lexi. This was a serendipitous moment.
Oh yeah.
Right at the moment where I was starting to come out, Nate taught a jazz and gender class at USC, and I
Oh,
went, "Are you kidding me?" And so I took this class,
yeah.
and it was all about gender in jazz and women in jazz. And we had special guests who talked about misogyny and, macho culture in jazz. and it really helped me to formulate my position. And I had to do my culminating paper. It wasn't exactly a dissertation, but I am, one of the things I am most proud to say I got from my doctorate is that I was able to write this culminating paper on an overview of four LGBTQ jazz musicians and kind of give this history of jazz and its relationship to gender and sexuality.
Do you
And
have a
in
link
that,
to that publicly? I'd love to.
it's not published yet. We're working on it, but I will send you a copy. And once it's published, we can, give it up for the podcast
Dude, we
because I'm
will
working on
absolutely
that.
update that link as we go along then, because I
Yeah,
think
yeah,
the world
yeah.
needs to read that paper.
So I did an interview with the drummer, her name, Allison Miller. And
Yes.
Allison, who we love and is a fierce queen and another one of my heroes,
Mm-hmm.
she gave me the incredible gift of blocking an entire afternoon. We did a 2-hour interview for my paper.
Oh my God.
And in that interview, she said something that literally was a defining moment in my entire life. And I don't remember the quote exactly, but she basically said to me, I asked her, I said, do you think you play queer? Like, do you feel like your music is queer or, you know, queer?
Mm-hmm.
And she said to me, I wouldn't say that it's exactly a queer way of playing music, but she said essentially that we're rewriting the rules of gender and sexuality, we're rewriting the rules of music, and that our openness to be boundaryless in terms of gender and presentation just invites our openness to be boundaryless and improvisational in jazz. And that's when I realized, holy fucking shit, my entire life has been an exploration of who I am and how I want to define myself, recovering from a rocky start and existing in this fucked up, tough existence
Mm-hmm.
as a human and as a musician. And so it led to the thesis statement of my paper and basically my life philosophy that me being a jazz musician who improvises is identical and inseparable from me being a trans femme person who improvises and is boundaryless in my gender and presentation. Mic drop.
No doubt. I mean, there we go. There's our mic drop. Just thud.
There you go.
Thud on the mic.
Not to toot
That
my horn, but
yeah, no, that's that, and like that just you sharing that is inspiration to anyone who improvises for sure. But I know that there are queer musicians out there that are just going to resonate with all of that.
yeah,
That's so authentic and true. And I love that you're embodying this otherness and embracing this otherness. And
yeah,
like all along the way, like I think there's a faction of people, mostly yucky, gross people that we don't like, that would also
yeah.
consider Jewishness as an otherness.
Oh
So
yeah,
you know what I mean?
oh yeah,
And like music is thankfully plentiful with Jewish people, and they're incredible artists, incredible musicians, and I
oh
feel
yeah.
grateful to know many Jewish people. But like, can you speak on like how that all synthesized into your queer realization, or if it had an effect at all? Like, did you consider that another part of otherness, or do you feel like other people maybe treated you differently because additionally you're Jewish and also trans?
Well, it's funny you mentioned that. I have a running joke with some of my friends, and this will make sense to you. It's exactly the answer to your question. I am very proud, isn't the right word, but it gives me a lot of strength. I am proud to say is the right word. I am proud to say that I am the granddaughter of two Holocaust survivors.
Wow, I didn't know that.
My mom's mom and dad, my mom's dad passed some years ago. My
Mhm.
mom's mom is still with us. She's 90. And I am very proud to say that they are both Holocaust survivors. My
Mhm.
mom's dad survived Auschwitz and Dachau, two of the worst camps. And
Yeah.
my mom's mom, you know, had an equally harrowing story. And so I often say in this day and age, it's like, fuck, I've got both sides of the scapegoat story. I'm Jewish and I'm trans.
Oh my God. Right?
And so, but yes, I would absolutely say that it was another piece of otherness. It was, I didn't experience it growing up Jewish. I was very loved for it and lucky to not feel any anti-Semitism.
Good.
I only really started experiencing that kind of thing when when the war broke out like a year and a half or whatever it was ago.
Hmm. Hmm.
And that led to some kind of tough experiences. But if you can believe it, Lexi, LA comes through again. There's an organization in LA called JQ International, which is literally Jewish Queers International, and it's an LGBTQ Jewish organization. And they have the most amazing events. And I've been going for like a couple months now. And it's just like half these people are artists, the other half are musicians. It's
Love
like,
it.
it's just like my philosophy. The more you put your target on the middle of the Venn diagram of where you want to be in life, the more you will meet the kinds of people who are also where you want to be in life.
Yeah, absolutely. Like that's I've written all of this down. We're gonna post this in the show notes for
Yeah.
sure. So along the way, like in your grad experiences and whatnot, especially considering all of the adversity, right? Is there a particular like course or maybe like masterclass that you wish you would have had along the way that might have made life easier? Like if you could design one or just say, hey, grad programs, you should do this for people because their lives would be a hell of a lot easier.
God, there are many. I mean, if you got a few hours. But
Right? Well, we
I
can
mean
always
the
do a
most
revisit in like, season two.
well, yeah, 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 yeah. I mean, honestly, I would say several things. I mean, musicians need to. I don't claim to be an expert about it, but the three things I would say that, I would say financial literacy for sure. Musicians don't know how to budget money. You got to put aside the money if you're going to make a record, how you're going to market yourself,
Hmm.
how you're going to get yourself out there because you get out of school and like sure you might be the baddest musician ever that can burn on giant steps in 1425 with altered, as my teacher called it. One of my teachers, Gary Dial, who I mentioned, he would call it the demolished scale, and he would just be like, that's everything all in one. You'd be like, that's just C demolished, and
I
I'd be
love
like,
it.
yeah, that's about right. So like, yeah, it was great. I
That's
love
awesome.
those. I love those, old persnickety jazz musician jokes where you go to a rehearsal and you're like, I'm going to get all the secrets, and then they're talking about how much parking costs in New York City, and I'm like,
Hmm.
fuck, there's no secrets here. It's just them complaining about street side parking.
Oh my God, facts. Yeah, if
Yeah,
you've
no,
ever had
but
the misfortune of having to drive in New York, I'm
well,
sorry. I've done that. It
yeah,
sucks. It's the
it
worst.
sucks. But yeah, I mean, financial literacy, how to kind of have a social media presence these days, because, as much as love it or hate it, people are really finding out about people from social media. And even just having something that feels right to you, it doesn't have to be a chronically posting, chronically online thing,
Hmm.
but make it something holistic and show the world what you're about because people will come from social media. I recently played a concert. I thought no one was going to be there. And some people said, oh, we follow you on Instagram and we saw you were playing and we made the trek to come see you.
Oh my
And then it was
gosh.
just like, and they told their friends and brought their friends along and we had a crowd.
Well, and I think that's a really good example of how like there's this big argument, right? Like I think a lot of creatives in the world are really nervous about our futures because
Yeah.
of the rise of AI, right? Like, oh,
Yeah.
AI
Yeah.
this,
Oh,
AI
yeah.
that, it's going to take over music, it's going to eliminate the musician.
It's
And factually
not,
that's
though.
not the case, right? Because AI cannot show up and play a concert and actually play that kind of music live. It's not a human moving air. Straight up.
Unless, unless you want to talk about that really creepy video of the robot playing giant steps on
Oh
YouTube. But
God, yeah. There's a robot
ew,
trumpet player too, and it's just like, nope, that ain't it.
ew.
But like, that's
No,
that's how
that
we
ain't
beat
it.
AI is by building our communities and by investing in each other
Listen,
and in getting our music
listen,
out organically. You know what I mean?
because humans have soul and AI will never have soul because AI can't figure out when to put that stank on a note that makes someone else make a stank face, that makes you connect with the audience, that makes them want to come back because they love that feeling of feeling alive. And that's
Mm-hmm.
really what music is for me.
Mm-hmm.
It's about making other people wake up and feel alive and have an experience that they can't get anywhere else.
Oh, absolutely. Without a doubt.
And so I really think that sure we teach all this stuff in school, but I think we just need to teach more of the like how to live, like how to be financially viable, how to have a social media presence, and how to connect with people on a musical level. Like what is it that inspires you that you want to share with other people? I just had a talk with one of my teachers, I call her my life mentor at this point. She was
Aw.
my teacher at USC. Her name is Kathleen Grace. She's
Mm-hmm.
an incredible singer, and she was basically, I called her my jazz mom while at USC
Aw,
because
jazz mom.
she would watch out for me, and we had lessons together about playing duo with singers, but also it was really just like the zen of life and jazz. And she would say that something they don't teach in jazz schools, and I believe this, is like how to have a soul and how to be you, an individual, and what do you bring to the table.
Mm-hmm.
And so, really, that's what I would say to your listeners. If it comes right down to it, if you take one thing away from this, is be you. Don't be them, because we, as listeners, if I'm a listener, what turns me on the most is hearing you, your gender expression, your musical expression, your experiences, your what you gain from academia. Don't let them force something down your throat. And frankly, don't accept everything everyone says as fact, because at the end of the day, obviously you'll have mentors who are smart and teach you a hell of a lot and soak in everything they say. But then you get to the end of school and just go, huh, I got all this information. Let me like take my time and go back through it and just decide what's true for me, because at the end of the day, you're making your music, not them.
Yep. Totally. So oh my God. I that was fabulous advice. I mean, honestly, we could just like click end podcast. But there's more. I have two more questions for you.
Yeah.
As we're coming up. So as far as like tools of the trade and gadgets or like life hacks, if you will, like what are your top three that have just been such incredible life changers for you that you just can't live without them now? Like, and this could be for anything, whether it's just, living life and existing in this capitalist hellscape, or if they're musical things, like whatever it is, give me your top three.
Well, I would say, that's a good question, Lexi. Damn. Um,
I do what I
I
can.
would
I'm
say,
getting really good at this hosting thing. Like I'm getting reps in.
yeah,
This is great.
you're good at you're good at this. More people should, Lexi, hire her.
Yes, please.
Um, yeah. Honestly, I would say musically, this is going to sound very backwards, but step away from music for a second. Go do something else that inspires you. And then you'll come back to playing music and you'll go, I never looked at it that way. I can't tell you how many times I've been like, oh, I'm so burned out. And then I go listen to a podcast about fucking astronomy.
Hmm.
And I come back and I go, oh my God, I sound better than ever. And it inspired me. Or I went out to the park and I saw a cute dog and I played with that dog. And then I came back and I nailed that thing that was hard for me, because we get so caught up in we have to make it. We're not going to make it. And yeah, you got to hustle. And yeah, but it's balance. Like you can't be hustling and making it all work and being a badass queen or king or whoever you are if you don't take care of yourself. So I would say step away from music. That's number one. Two, listen to all kinds of music. Don't get stuck in a pigeonhole. Inspire yourself. Try new things.
Hmm.
And honestly, not to sound like I'm brownie pointing with my gorgeous host here, but listen to podcasts. Podcasts are like my favorite source of inspiration, because you don't have to look at anything. You can be washing the dishes and listening to a podcast, and
Dude,
it's
I'm addicted.
honestly,
I didn't think
I'm addicted.
right. My fiance was really big on podcasts, and I listened to them intermittently. I would also listen to them when I was commuting because like it's better to just get more information than just letting your brain
Right.
coast. I'm always trying to
Yeah. Right.
get better or whatever. But yeah, totally with you on that one. Like podcasts have been a game changer for me personally.
And then I would say my fourth thing is honestly just sit down and play. Like, sit down and remember why you're in love with this instrument that you chose and this music that you're playing, whatever it might be, because we get, since we're talking about academia and or, just the music, capitalist hellscape or existing in this fucked up world, and it is fucked up and there is a lot of shit going on. Take time to nurture that inner child, just play. I once listened to a podcast, and actually, I mean, this was a life changing thing. I recommend every single person, no matter what you do. Chick Corea once had a podcast, famous pianist, and he did an interview with Bela Fleck,
Holy
and
crap.
they just spent the whole hour talking about like the joy of just music doesn't judge you, your instrument doesn't judge you. Just sit down and make a sound, any sound, and go from there.
Nice.
And that was like, oh my God, there's no more pressure. It just kind of is.
Yeah.
And so for me, it really just kind of is like trying to maintain some level of childlike wonder about the whole thing and why you got started in the first place.
Yeah, for sure. All right, last one before we jet. If you were a flavor of ice cream, what kind of ice cream would you be? I love to ask silly questions because I feel like they're just really, I don't know, really fun and inspiring.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, I'm a sucker for chocolate. I've got to say chocolate. Any kind of chocolate.
Nice, nice. Like, so if you
Yeah.
were an ice cream, you would be chocolate ice cream because it's awesome no matter
Just
what.
'cause
Like,
I
just
love
like you.
I mean, yeah, that. I mean, if I was going to be an ice cream because of me, I'd have to be rainbow ice cream.
Oh, I love that for you. Rainbow sherbet or rainbow ice cream? Because there's Superman ice cream too. I wish there was Superwoman
What's
ice cream.
Why is there not Superwoman? Let's see. You got to get a
The guys from Ben
sponsored
and
by
Jerry's to make Superwoman?
Ben and Jerry's,
Totally.
so you can make the Rogue Academic Superwoman ice cream.
Okay, that's happening. Ben and Jerry, if you are out there listening, we have a request.
We have a request: the Rogue Academic Superwoman ice cream coming to Target. Let's go.
Yes, ma'am. Oh my gosh, I love it. All right. So if you have any closing thoughts, anything that you just like, you got to get it out there for anyone listening. What's that last piece of just like slam at home sort of advice?
Be yourself and go. Don't let anyone stop you. I know it's scary out there these days, but like, you are your truest, ally, and I don't know, take that leap that you've been wanting to take and fucking subscribe to the Rogue Academic.
Yeah. Ah, you are too kind. Oh my gosh. Well, thank you so much for being here. I really
Thank you,
appreciate you
Lexi,
taking the
for
time because I
having
know
me.
you
It
got a
was an
shit ton
honor.
of stuff that you're working on. So and if you haven't already checked out Sam's music, please do it. Your ears and your soul will be better for having checked out Sam's music. It's beautiful. And keep making music. Keep getting out there and doing your shit. The world needs your voice.
Thanks, Lexi.
You betcha. All right, guys. We'll catch ya. And that's a wrap on this week's Rogue Academic Podcast. We're so glad you decided to hang out with us today. As a little thank you for your faith in us, head on over to Hideaway Coffee of Fort Wayne, Indiana. That's HYDE Away Coffee. And when you've picked out your favorite roast, enter Rogue10 in the checkout and use our discount to get some well-earned caffeine. I hardly know an academic that lives without a little bit of coffee in their lives, so enjoy and gift some. Speaking of gifts, why don't you give us a follow on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Threads, or encourage your friends to come follow our podcast. We'd love to hear a little bit more from our audience, both online and offline. So give us a follow, and we're looking forward to seeing you for the next one. Thanks a lot, everybody.
See you on the